Happy Thursday, everybody. It's Jim. It's Amadeus. And if it's Thursday, it must be Thursday Night Football. Only one thing. We're going to start with Thursday Night Football in the college ranks, maybe even talk a little bit about Friday Night Football in college because we're going to have a ton of fun stuff to chat about come tomorrow when all the championship games are played in college football, and of course a big week in the NFL. So Amadeus, I hope you're doing well, my friend. How's the snow situation up there?
Yeah, that snow went away pretty quickly, Jim.
Oh,
But
really? Okay.
now today the sun is out. There's no snow on the ground. So like I said,
Wow.
it's the first real snowfall, but it
Right.
didn't last long. I guess we're not quite in December yet.
Well, you don't have slush around. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, let's pop up the old college football thing for tomorrow night. Conference USA. Two of our favorite teams are playing in the championship game there. It's going to be at 7 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Rich Waltz and Aaron Taylor on the call. Uh, our love affair with the urinating New Mexico State team against Liberty. This one could be, we had the Catholics versus the convicts in Miami and Notre Dame years ago. This could be the convicts versus the Baptists. So it could be an interesting situation with that standpoint. But I know you've liked Conference USA this year, and we got two very decent, very good teams here.
Yeah, it's been an exciting conference this year. It was nice when it was during the week. Obviously, it
Mm-hmm.
didn't finish that way, but yeah, New Mexico State. It's funny because everybody was talking about Liberty, obviously with
Mm-hmm.
the undefeated season, and Jacksonville
Right.
State, how great they were playing
Right.
in their first year up from FCS. But this New Mexico State team, they've flown under the radar all year. They
Mm-hmm.
got to 10 wins this season. They did play the extra game. They're 10-3 this year. But yeah, one of those teams that just they've snuck under the radar all year, and here they are in the conference championship. And it'll be interesting to see what happens when they play Liberty. Obviously, they've played them already on the road too, so they've been to this exact stadium earlier this season, so they kind of know what to expect going into this one, and I think it's going to be a very good game to watch.
Yeah, and for those of you who have ever made the trip to Las Cruces, New Mexico, it's really a pretty place. It's very deserty, as you might expect, and very mountainous, as you might expect. Um, but it's a very cool area. I mean, it's a very, very cool area to hang out. So if you're ever in Las Cruces, look up the folks at New Mexico State, and you'll have fun. Liberty's in Virginia, down in the Petersburg area, down there by Norfolk, which is over by the coast where a lot of naval bases are, and it's a small university. Size-wise, it's a small university in footprint, but as I think we've talked about, they have over 100,000 students because they have a serious amount of people who take courses from Liberty online. So there's a lot of money flowing in and out of Liberty. So it's the joke was it's the Baptist version of Notre Dame. So we'll see about that. But Liberty and New Mexico State should be fun. That's a 7 o'clock start, CBSN tomorrow night. What can we say about Oregon and Washington that we haven't already said? And that game's in Vegas. It's an 8 o'clock start on ABC. Fowler and Curb Street, the number one, you know, team for ABC, is on the call. Uh, I, you know, Oregon has just played lights out since they lost that game to Washington, and Michael Penix and the boys from Washington taking on Bo Nix and the boys from Oregon. What more do you need to say, right?
Yeah, I mean we've talked so much about this game. I think we've
Mm-hmm.
kind of predicted this rematch all
Right.
year pretty much, and yeah,
About
this
5 minutes after it was over in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. We've pegged all year Washington and Oregon as number one and number two in the country.
Hmm.
So it's no surprise that one's undefeated and one has the one loss here in the Pac-12 championship. But that original game doesn't matter because this one's going to be on a neutral site, and this is
Right.
the one that decides who goes to the playoffs. Now, obviously, the books tend to agree that Oregon's been playing lights out since that loss, since they come in as a 9-point favorite here, but. Washington, as we've talked about, this is a team that continuously finds ways to get it done, and that tends to be what good teams do. So it's going to be a very good game. I definitely think this is the number one and the number two teams in the country playing each other right here.
Yeah, I think I agree. I totally 100% agree. I'm going to ask you a question which isn't fair because I didn't. I should have asked this ahead of time so you had time to do it. And so if you need time to get an answer, that's fine too. Um, there used to be a rule that when two college teams played in Las Vegas, that the game couldn't be bet on at the books in Vegas. And I don't know if you know that or not. If they've revised it, that was about 3 years ago. Uh, Things change in the gaming industry by the hour, so that could very well not be the case anymore. Not that that means you can't get action on the game, just means that perhaps you might not be able to bet it in the books if you happen to be in town. But I don't know if that is the case any longer. So
Yeah,
that's
I,
it.
I don't I don't think it's the case in Las
Yeah.
Vegas, but I think that rule actually exists in New Jersey still.
Oh, does it? Okay.
They have a thing where you can't, if you're in the state of New Jersey, you can't bet on any New Jersey schools or teams or anything like that. I've seen that before. So yeah, I think with all the rule changes though,
Mm-hmm.
with all these gambling laws, by now Las Vegas has definitely changed their tune on that, especially
Yeah.
when you're hosting half the tournaments in these basketball
Right.
things. So yeah, I think it would be a smart decision for that rule to have been changed by
To be
now.
quickly moved. Yeah, definitely about that. So basically, you're telling me nobody can bet on Rutgers or or Princeton in New Jersey then.
Yeah,
So.
and actually, one of the sites I use to get the odds, I think, is
Hmm.
based out of New Jersey, and they never have lines on Rutgers or any like New Jersey teams.
Well, there's only two real, big time programs, and you can argue Rutgers and Princeton whether they're big time or not. But those are the two big time football programs in the state. So.
You're not a big NGIT or sorry NJIT basketball, Jim? Come on, the
Well,
Highlanders.
I was talking football, but
All right,
I mean they have. Princeton is a pretty decent year in year out, as is Rutgers a pretty decent year in year out college basketball teams. But they haven't. It's been a long time since Princeton's won the Ivy League championship, and it's been even longer since Rutgers has won a championship in football. So there you go. So that's going to be, as we said before, the Pac-12 championship game. Interesting thing here too is when Bo Nix decided to leave, um, you know, Auburn and head to greener pastures. He kicked the tires on Florida State, Florida. He kicked the tires on Texas. Looked at a couple of other schools before deciding that what Dan Lanning was selling in Oregon was what he wanted. The irony is, and if I mean, get this from the portal standpoint, Bo Nix and Michael Penix both kicked tires on Florida State and decided to go, obviously elsewhere. But, it's kind of interesting to see how some of the teams they didn't go to, um, are teams that, in the case of FSU, ended up with with some kids that they pulled from other schools and brought in there. But, you know, Bo Nix or Penix in at FSU could have made a little bit of difference there too. You never know. But they went where they went because they thought, and to their credit, they were picked right. They went to universities where they thought the offense fit their abilities.
Yeah, well, Dan Lanning must be doing something right in Oregon because he took Bo Nix in the most garbage form from
Mm-hmm.
Auburn and turned him into one of the best quarterbacks in
Yeah.
the country. Obviously, he unlocked that potential he saw
Mm-hmm.
was there. And now, he's already working on Bo Nix's replacement because
Mm-hmm.
who's entered the portal now? One guy we believe is one of the more underrated quarterbacks in the country,
Mm-hmm.
Cam Ward from Washington State,
Oh yeah.
and Dan Lanning's already trying to work the magic on him, getting him A's. It's not much of a travel. Just come over to Oregon here.
Well, I mean, Cam Ward would be a fool not to go to Oregon.
Oh, 100%. You're getting what might be the best team in the country,
Right.
and you just get to get plugged right into that offense. It's already been established, and you're going to the Big Ten now, so you're gonna
Right.
gonna be able to prove yourself next year because apparently beating every ranked team in the Pac-12 means nothing.
Evidently. And the thing is with Cam Ward is, I'll, dare I say, and I don't want to throw shade on the season, on the possible Heisman Trophy of Bo Nix, but Cam Ward's a better athlete.
Yeah, he might be the better quarterback. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what
Hmm.
happens with that. I think Cam Ward's an outstanding player in
Yeah.
general. So
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Cam was a point guard on his high school basketball team. Was all state. I mean, this is a kid who's, and when I say better athlete, doesn't mean Bo Nix is not a good athlete. I'm not throwing shade, as I said, on Bo. The thing is, and Bo may be a better, quote unquote quarterback, but Dan Lanning made Bo Nix a great quarterback. And if I'm Cam Ward, it's gonna be hard for me to leave Eugene, Oregon, once Dan Lanning gets me over there.
yeah, definitely. I think especially if Oregon ends up beating Washington
Right.
and goes to the playoffs and who knows the kind of way they can finish the postseason, but.
Hmm.
He could just have the pick. He could be the guy who has the pick of the crop next year. Just
Oh
whoever
yeah.
whoever he wants, he'll be able to get. So it'll definitely be interesting. We got a superpower brewing in Oregon, and especially with the things surrounding Harbaugh and Michigan, you got to think people are going to say, "Hey, we definitely got a chance in the Big Ten with Oregon for sure. It can win that conference."
Hmm. Well, I mean, and there's a guy across the state, who, might enter the transfer portal, and that's DJ Uyalunga, who was at Oregon State. So, it might be something, to look out for. Now, let's look for a second at Washington, right? Washington brought in three kids from Mississippi State that all are contributing to the team. And now, you know, it's, a situation where Mississippi State, you know, quarterback, Will Rogers is, headed into the portal as well. And Will Rogers, for those who don't remember, back in the day when Mike Leach was there, and Mike has a wide open pass, offense. He was the guy, and he really did well under Mike Leach. But when that job went to Hugh Freeze, it was a different type of offense. So there's a couple of other quarterbacks. If DJ, what if Cam ends up at Oregon State and DJ ends up at over at in Washington? That would be amazing as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't blame DJU for wanting to jump in the portal. Obviously, his
No.
coach felt to do the same, and he left for a much worse program. You could argue right now
Yeah.
with everything going on at Michigan State. So,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where these quarterbacks end up because I think for sure Dan Lanning's going to be a guy who probably has his pick of the crop, and it's going to be a
Yeah.
matter of who he gets. Where are the rest of the dominoes
They
going to
all
fall?
right. They all slot right. It's like a slot thing. But the other thing too, which I thought was pretty interesting, is that, in that slotting process, there's even probably after the bowl situations shake out, there's going to be players who decide that they want to go and enter that portal situation. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, there's going to be a lot of off-season machinations, and you know, I guess what we've seen in at least in the last year more so than the last 2 years is the ability of teams. You said it about Jeff Fish in Arizona. I mean, they were able to turn a program around in a really quick amount of time through the portal. Alex Golish at USF, was able to do it. So, there you go. It's some pretty interesting stuff, and it's knowing what these guys, are capable of, and doing your homework. And when the portal hits, it's recruiting the portal.
Yeah, 100%. And it almost makes you wonder, guys like Dabo Sweeney and Nick Saban, who are getting so much pressure to start using the portal. It'll be interesting to see if they actually decide to maybe use it this year effectively and try to bring in some better players, maybe a quarterback upgrade. So we'll have to see with that, because obviously, a name like Saban or Sweeney could definitely throw a wrench in, and some of these kids might want to go play there, but
Right.
but at the same time, they have to show an interest, and that's not something that they've done. And look at where Clemson and Alabama have fallen as a result. So yeah, again, we've talked a lot about the parity in college football, and it all goes back to that idea of, it's easier now for a smaller school to go in the portal and say, why the hell do you want to wait and be third string there? I got a starting position for you right here, and you fit my defensive scheme.
Well, and you just said it, and I agree 100% with Dan Lanning, right? Dan Lanning is the man, and if Dan Lanning picks up the phone and calls some of these kids in the portal, and I think that's where I think what we're seeing now is. Remember yesterday we talked, or a couple of days ago, we talked about recruiting and the importance of how many position coaches go out and really work the portal. I'm sorry, work the scholarship aspect of it all. And then they bring, 3 or 4 of them, on campus where the head coach gets to, try to close the deal. And but I think in the portal it's different. I think these are guys who have sat down and played for some of the top coaches in the country. So, you got to be, if you're the head coach, you're the guy that's got to be the work in the portal, because the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinators are well known by this point. You got to close the deal on these guys.
Yeah, definitely. That's the key thing, right? And there's nothing's, it also speaks volumes to the player itself. Nothing says, I'm going to be appreciated here than the actual head coach reaching out versus, sending the assistant coaches and the position coaches to go get the job done for him.
Yeah. I mean, that's where it's going to be. Okay, so let's say Alabama sends, an offensive or defensive coordinator to close the deal on one of these guys in the portal, and Dan Lanning and 5 or 6 other head coaches have been there. That's not gonna sit well with potential person in the portal.
Yes, exactly. So it'll be very interesting. There's going to be a lot of movement as always, and it'll be an interesting offseason. Obviously, we still have the bowl games. People are jumping into portals, but we'll see. We'll see what happens after conference championships, right? Because I'm sure there'll be players that will jump ship, and they're probably just waiting to play in the conference championship, and then they say, screw the bowl game, right?
Well, there's that, but there's also the possibility of, if you think, because you're going to be on a national stage, right? And you're not, these conference championships are great, but in some of the bowl games, that's where some of these, guys whose teams didn't make it, to the a big time bowl, or didn't make it to the top 20 or something like that. That's where you can show off. in a bowl game and have an interesting thing where coaches will have one last opportunity to see you in your in the position that you're in right there. So something to be interesting and look out for. So we'll see how that plays out. Interesting thing too that happened today. We'll finish up our college aspect here today, and that is that Sports Illustrated named their Sportsman of the Year as Deion Sanders. Now, they gave it to Deion because of his turnaround and what he's done at Colorado. And look, I can't argue with what Deion's done and how he's turned around the Colorado situation from a standpoint of they didn't have a season where they went bowl eligible and they got off to a great start, but life changed as they got through tougher circumstances. But you know, and I love Deion, but I don't see him as the Sportsman of the Year for SI.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I agree with what you said. He's done wonders at
Yeah.
Colorado, but you hit a point there. They still didn't make a bowl game this year.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of if we're just going to stick with college football, there's tons of coaches
Yeah.
out there who've arguably done much better jobs. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely, unless they're taking into account other things like how he's grown the economy of
Well, yeah,
Colorado by his sheer presence, then
yeah,
then yeah, absolutely give it to him. But that feels more of like a Forbes award than a Sports
yeah.
Illustrated award. So yeah,
True.
I think maybe Forbes Sports Person of the Year, absolutely Deion Sanders. But yeah, Sports Illustrated, I think could have picked somebody more not better because Deion Sanders did a great
Yeah,
job. But
nobody's saying
someone
that.
more suitable probably.
Right, right. I mean, nobody's saying that Dion didn't do a fantastic job up there, but you're basically giving an award of the Sports Person of the Year to someone who did a nice. I mean, you could argue that his last year at Jackson State would be more impactful for what it did for HBCU colleges than going to Colorado, in a Power Five conference and winning 4 football games. Because he took Jackson, to a title game in the conference, which in it, again, and he brought shined a tremendous light on historically black universities. But again, did Dion do something fantastic? Yeah, he did economically, as you say, and culturally and all of that. But I find that just a little bit surprising. I guess it's not a bad thing. Nothing wrong with that. And since I work on projects for Forbes, you gave me the idea. I'll write the column on on being Forbes, sports person of the year, and we'll go
See
from
that,
there.
that that makes sense to me, right? Because when you think
Yeah.
Forbes, you think financially.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that would make sense. You know how not only the job he did there, but how he's grown the economy of
Yeah.
Colorado and
No.
all they brought in all these people. Colorado's got DJ Khaled there,
Yeah.
DJing like come on, right? He's growing this. That's great. But yeah, if we're going based purely on sports merit, I mean, look at like Jerry Kill. That program was
Mm-hmm.
0-12 2 years ago. They won
Right.
10 games this season. You got Jed Fish over there, had 50 new players 3 seasons ago. Finished ranked this year with 9 wins.
Right.
So yeah, definitely. I think for as far as Sports Illustrated goes, there was better options for that award. But absolutely, if Forbes wants to start a sports economic person of the year, give it to Dion.
I'll write it and send you the link. So there
Sounds
you
good.
go.
I look forward to reading it.
No, as I look forward to writing it. So I'll have to cut off short today and get that thing in. But it is funny that you know that we're crossing paths in business and sports because it is now what it is. It is a business and it is sports and by the way, for those out there knowing that this is the last Pac-12 football championship, there might be more Pac-12 in the future. The Pac-2 basically did a scheduling deal with Mountain West, and that starts next 2024 because they only had two teams, and we'll see how that plays out from that standpoint. The way the scheduling is such is that they will play 7 games, and then Oregon State and Washington State will have the option to play 4 other games, I should say, that will take place of conference games, where they might be playing some of their former Pac-12 buddies, or might be taking a look at some colleges they want to bring into the conference when they restructure the conference in 2025. So we'll see how that whole thing works out at that point.
It's been rough for the Pac-12, but at least Oregon State and Washington State can sleep easy knowing they'll be in the Pac-12 championship next year.
Yeah,
for sure.
You never know. That's it. Tonight, Thursday night football in Jerry's world. Where else would it be, right? Seattle, Dallas. Big game for Seattle. Not as big a game for Dallas because they're playing with house money in that situation, because Philadelphia, I still think Philadelphia's going to win that division, but it's an important game for both teams.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you never know. The Eagles, like we said, they got to go through the gauntlet. They got the 49ers this week, and then they play the Cowboys next week. So, I mean, if things go the best possible scenario for the Cowboys, they could be sitting there with the same record after playing the Eagles at home. But, this, I don't want to call this game a clunker because I don't view these two teams as bad teams.
Right.
But I also feel like I feel like the Cowboys are just a lot better. Now, that being said, I kind of like the Seahawks to cover the spread, but it's not a game I love for the side.
I would say this, Dallas is hanging big numbers on people. I don't think that's going to happen with Pete Carroll's defense. I think Seattle's problem is going to be scoring on Dallas's defense.
Yeah, definitely. We've talked a lot about how the Seahawks haven't looked great in their recent games, and I contribute that a lot to the regression of Geno Smith. If you look, their offense isn't putting up the points that they were. But yeah, as you said, the defense, and they do this every year. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. They have one of the worst defenses in the first month. And it's always like that, and then somewhere
they fix it.
Week 6 or 7, like something clicks, and all of a sudden, they have one of the best defenses in certain categories, and it's crazy. So yeah, definitely, I think the turn has already happened for the Seahawks defense, but this Dallas I really do think the Cowboys are an elite team. I know a lot of people like to hate on the Cowboys, but the Cowboys, I think, are an elite team in the NFL this year.
Here's something I'll ask you about Dallas. I would argue that Dallas, on both sides of the ball, is one of the most athletic teams, if not the most athletic team. Maybe Baltimore, in the entire league. Physically, they got elite athletes on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think just in general, they have a top 5 offense and defense in the NFL. I think they're a very balanced team in that sense. Now, we'll have to see them beat a team with a winning record, but boy, can they beat the teams with losing records. So this is, I guess this is kind of a borderline. The Seahawks are what, 6-5? So
yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, still a team with a winning record, but maybe not for long.
Yeah, they may slide into the what we like to call the NFC South abyss, where all you have to do is win. The joke last year was if a team in the NFC South, won 6 games, they were bowl eligible. But we chatted in the pre-show, and we both agreed that there might not be a coach in the in the NFC South, whether it's Charlotte, whether it's Carolina or Tampa Bay or New Orleans or Atlanta, worthy of keeping their job.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can go down team by team. Obviously, Carolina hasn't. They've already taken
Ugh.
care of that for us. But yeah, Frank Reich was one. I don't understand the midseason firing because
Hmm.
I didn't think they were going to expect. I didn't think like did they expect to win 6 games this season? But I know
Hmm.
you had some good points on why to fire
Hmm.
Frank Reich, why that was a good idea.
Well, yeah, I mean, Frank Wright is a potential Hall of Fame coach. Okay, but I say that to say this: he's a potential Hall of Fame coach for what he did during an entirely different offensive structure in the league. The John Elways of the league, and the way that the more pocket passing, um, vertical down the field stretch, plays, all that sort of thing. That was not. That's not the new NFL. The new NFL is an RPO. It's a run pass option league. You've got most of the successful quarterbacks are run pass option quarterbacks. You don't have a lot of successful, drop back, the old drop back style quarterbacks. And so Frank Reich's offense was it just didn't translate well. And so I think is Frank Reich did Frank Reich suddenly become dumb as a coach? No, he didn't become dumb as a coach. His offense just doesn't work as well as an RPO offense. And if you're going to play that kind of game, you better have the talent to do it, and he didn't have it. So it's not sometimes things are just not a good fit, and I don't think it's fit. It's the same way with Todd Bowles in Tampa. And I'm not into firing coaches. I mean, that's not for me to say. But I think what Todd has shown is that he's a defensive coordinator who is, as a head coach, is a good defensive coordinator. But he's not a solid head coach. He's proven that now in 2 stops. So it might be time for Todd to return to and there's no shame in being a good coordinator. Okay, there's no shame in that at all. A lot of head coaches who bombed out as head coaches are fantastic offensive and defensive coordinators. So I think that's gonna. I don't know what I don't know what the deal is with the Glazers as to what their feelings are, but I think that's going to be interesting. I think the Arthur Blank is probably going to be interested in maybe making a change in Atlanta. I think he thought that this was going to be a better team. And as far as Mr. Benson and the Benson family with down in New Orleans, um, you know they kind of like to take flyers at big names. And if as we have Jim Harbaugh coaching 7 teams next year, maybe we should throw an 8 team in there and put Seattle in it. I'm sorry, New Orleans.
Yeah, I mean Dennis Allen. I haven't liked Dennis Allen as a head coach
Hmm.
since they named him the coach
Right,
of the Saints. He's never had a winning season, even when he was coaching the San Diego Chargers years
right.
ago. Um, and he had a few years there too. His
Hmm.
best season before taking over the Saints really was a 5-11 season.
Yeah,
So he didn't do great last year. Obviously, the Bucks got out of that division with an 8-9 record. So that
right.
tells you all you need to know there. And again, they're sitting at 5-6. They're tied for first, but you still have a losing record more than halfway through the season now. So yeah, Dennis Allen is a guy I think he definitely has to go in New Orleans, but. Will it be Harbaugh? We'll never know, or we'll have to find out, I guess, because
Yeah,
obviously, the Raiders are going to have a say in that. I'm already hearing the Bears want to get rid of Eberflus and bring
yeah.
Harbaugh in. So yeah,
There
definitely.
won't be a lack of coaches that are wondering where Jim's headed. And that might be the slotting process. We talked about that with Dan Lanning in Oregon. The slotting process may be, what happens to Harbaugh
Yeah.
and where do you go there. But I do think the trend, at least when you look at successful teams, the trend is to go for the younger uh, coordinator whose next step is head coach. And, although I do think a guy who has deserved the opportunity to try to be the head coach is probably going to happen. Even if it doesn't happen in Washington, he will get a head coaching job, and I think that's Eric Bieniemy, who's the offensive coordinator of Washington. He's done fantastic work with a lot little, with not as much talent there, and he's been a very good offensive coordinator for Coach Riverboat Ron Rivera. I don't think Riverboat Ron will survive the new ownership.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. I think Bieniemy is going to be the new head coach. I think it's probably already been decided behind closed doors. I think what's
Right.
going on there is it's probably out of respect, similar to what you're seeing
Right.
with Bill Belichick in New England. Ron
Mm-hmm.
Rivera is a great coach, but it's not working out this year. The new owners, they gave him a year. The team's terrible. They're probably just going to let him, because they know they're not going anywhere. They let him finish the season out, fire him, and they really, yeah, because of how many head coaching jobs he was interviewing for. The next smart move would be to just promote your offensive coordinator,
Right.
Eric Bieniemy, and make him the head coach, because he deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, he's turned Sam Howell around, because the
Sure.
offense hasn't been the problem in a lot of Washington games.
Right.
It's the defense giving up 30 points a game. You can't be winning games giving up 30 points a game.
Well, there's that, and my friend Brett, you know, um, Bram Weinstein, he and Julie Donahue handle the play-by-play of the games on the radio, and as as Mr. Weinstein likes to say, it's very difficult for Sam to be as effective as he can when he's running for his life 70% of the time, with the offensive line not exactly healthy. So that makes Eric's job difficult, makes Sam's job difficult. But I could foresee, because I don't know that Ron was a coach anymore. I could foresee these they the team giving him some sort of job like the Buccaneers did with a special assistant to the general manager or something like that, which is what Tampa Bay did for Bruce Arians, where they're still involved with the team from a administrative standpoint, but not from a coaching standpoint.
Yeah, that could be what happens. Maybe Ron Rivera decides to just retire. You never know,
Yeah.
if maybe he just wants to. He's had his good years as a coach. Time to just hang it up and sit on the couch and watch NFL Sundays.
Well, I remember talking to Brian Billick after he got fired, um, years ago when Jimmy Harbaugh got the job. John Harbaugh, I'm sorry, got the job. And getting ahead of myself there. And yeah, he's not going to replace his brother. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
But Brian laughed and said, I asked him if he was upset for getting fired. He goes, how can I get upset with a guy who just paid me $15 million to let me go? He said, I'm finishing my house on, on the shore over in Delaware. And he said, my job. He goes, I think my best days as a coach, are over, and I'm going to take the broadcast route. And so Brian went to broadcasting, and hasn't really looked back. Sometimes, as you said, sometimes the best thing is to just kind of hang out and say, you know what, I really don't need this job anymore. I've made some money. I got a good deal bought out of it. I mean, nobody's got Jimbo Fisher's $70 million buyout, but he doesn't have to coach again for the rest of his life. Although I will tell you, I don't think that broadcasting is in his future, but we'll see. But yeah, it'll be an interesting off season, that's for sure. But we still got plenty of this season left.
Yeah, yeah. Still lots to go. Definitely got 2 months, 2 full months still.
Oh man, an incredible amount of time. All right, my friend. It has come to that point in the time to tell people where to find you and what you got going for tonight.
Yeah, so make sure you check out my premium plays at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. I'm coming off a 6-4 day. I'm
Wow.
already 1-0 today with my Europa League game of the month on Brighton. I have another play for Europa League in 15 minutes if you want to get that. I also have a play in the Brazilian Soccer League at 5. Foxy, if you're out there watching, yes, I saw the Botafogo collapse last night. I could not believe it. And yeah, so I also have basketball up. I got one NBA and 2 college basketball. I'm coming off a
Cool.
perfect night on the hard court, 2-0 in NBA, 2-0 in college basketball. So go check that out.
Did you have Colorado State last night?
No, but you nailed it. When I didn't have faith in them, you had the faith for me, and they delivered. So I
Oh,
did see that. My plays last night. I like the weird schools, Jim. I went with Morehead State
okay.
and yeah,
Stayed in
yeah,
Kentucky. Okay, fair enough.
Morehead State and I forget what the other one was.
It's funny because I looked at the score and I went, aha! You know, Amadeus cashed tickets on Colorado State last night.
Yeah, I should have bet them because so for Virginia, I personally bet, but I didn't
Hmm.
give it out. I talked myself off of it, and somehow I knew Virginia's defense was going to come through. My other play yesterday was Queens, North Carolina. Good old Queens
Queens.
NC.
Okay.
Yeah, second season in Division One.
Yeah. Well, don't look out for them as any powerhouse anytime soon.
Hey, they're a scrappy little team, Jim.
No, Queens. Queens. That's Queens College in New York on
No,
Long
no, no.
Island.
NC,
Oh,
North
Queens,
Carolina.
North Carolina. Well, you said Queens, North Carolina. I thought North Carolina was playing Queens, but
Yeah,
you're
Queens,
right. Queens was
NC.
UNC was playing. Was it Tennessee last night? That was we
Yeah,
actually highlighted that game.
yeah.
So
Every home team pretty much in the ACC,
yeah,
SEC challenge smacked. So it'll be
yeah,
interesting to see if it goes the same way in the Big East, Big 12. Obviously, tomorrow we got UConn, Kansas, so
right.
that'll be a good game
That's
to
in
watch for sure.
Kansas, I think. Right?
Yeah, so we'll see if UConn. All right, show me you're the defending champions.
That's a tough place to play,
Yeah, yeah, it is.
Kansas. It's a loud building. The fans are on top of you. It doesn't seat a lot, but it feels like a lot because they don't keep their mouth shut the entire time that you're there.
Feels like 600 degrees inside.
Oh yeah, there's that too. It's it might be the only place where you have to have oxygen on the bench. It has nothing to do with with altitude. But yeah, it's a tough place to play, and you know it's not like UConn hasn't played in tough buildings before, but whenever you're in the building named after the guy who actually invented the sport, it does make for a very intense situation over at the Namesmith, and at least they're not playing with peach baskets, so at least there's that. They got that going for them.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to watch those two teams play. It'll be a lot of fun. So we'll see that, and we'll. So you're staying off the NFL tonight, then?
Oh, I forgot. I do have one NFL play
Just
up
thought I'd
up for
mention it just
tonight.
because I didn't hear it,
Yes,
so I'm thinking, okay, well maybe you
yeah,
stayed off that game.
yeah. So you can get pretty much one of every sport except for NHL. So,
Right. Okay. And of course we'll have to wait till the weekend for cricket. So we'll wait for those that
yeah.
big those big plays on cricket coming this weekend. So
Yes, of
there
course.
you go. All right, gang. Thanks for joining us. We had a lot of fun, and we will see you tomorrow with a jam-packed playoff weekend show. I know you're all saying the Jim, or Jim's back in the day when he was with coaching. What was it in Indiana? Jim Moore would say, "Playoffs. We didn't deserve to go into playoffs." So, well, there'll be teams that deserve to play in the playoffs, and they will be decided. And then on Sunday, because we'll have a chance to talk to it on Monday, we'll know who the Final Four is. So,
Yeah.
after all this, we predicted that, you know, we'll have to see. I mean, some crazy things can happen. It's happened before, so we'll see how it goes. But I think Oregon's going to be in that Final Four, my friend. We'll see how it works out.
You know what, Jim? I know for a fact it doesn't matter what 4 teams are in the playoffs. I'm going to be upset about it regardless.
One way or another.
And we're going to have a full month to complain about it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Looking forward to that bitching month, right? It's like, yeah, can't wait.
Should have been that team. What is this crap?
Well, the good news is next year it'll be 12. So
Yes.
we can argue about the 13th team that didn't get in. You know.
Yeah, we're talking about we need a 24-team playoff.
Right, what is it? We'll take 6.
Year.
Well, Bob Thompson, who the former president of Fox Sports, hit me up one time and said, "What do you think of a 64-team college football tournament?"
I love that.
And I said,
like
"That's
that a lot.
fantastic. What do you do? Start it in September?" You know, because you can't play those games. You know, all those games. During his use the bowls. You know, to work your way through it. Well, I said, write it up and send it over. Let's see what they'll say. But yeah, he thought that a 64-team playoff or 68-team, just like college basketball, would be something for the NCAA to look at for the playoffs. But again, the NCAA doesn't control the playoffs in college football. So the only one they control is Division FBS. So there's that. And there actually is an FBS team game playing tomorrow night, so we can take a quick look at that one tomorrow. So anyway, everybody, thanks for joining us on Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.